Alright, so let's start with the news article, right? Can India's ONDC go ahead and be a challenger to Flipkart and Amazon, right? So, let's start with what is ONDC, right? ONDC is the open network for digital commerce that the government is building, like the UPI, to go ahead and open source how we go ahead and do trade and commerce on the internet, right? So we spoke about this in our previous video. Let's get in deep to it and let's see how it's going to benefit us in and of itself. So ONDC, we don't really know how exactly this framework will work, right? Because let's say when UPI launched also, it was supposed to be a payments network, and for consumers, how it pans out is not something that we know out of the box, right? We know that it's a network that you have to connect to and all of those things. So the government is not going to open an Amazon or Flipkart. They're not opening an e-commerce store. Rather, they're making a framework that lets you run e-commerce businesses in India very, very easily, right? So they want to go ahead and connect people who are, let's say, people like Amazon, Flipkart, and other people who go ahead and showcase your products. Maybe like a Paytm mall will be a good example in the future of that, because they're going to become exclusive to that, right? And then there are going to be like other partners who will partner in this process, like logistics providers and like shipping partners and all of these people. And then easily for a seller, you can go ahead and list all of these products onto ONDC. The question here is that can ONDC really kill any of these players, right? So let's look at what are the benefits that ONDC brings. The first one would be discoverability, right? So ONDC wants to go ahead and create like a unified platform where you post and then like everyone can discover all sorts of sellers and the people across the board, right? Right now, let's say you're associated with Flipkart, you're only on Flipkart, right? So rather than that, you can have that data shared across the board for these users, right? And like it's becomes an open protocol for e-commerce platforms. So for example, right now there's Shopify is the closest example to a protocol that is there for e-commerce, right? Like you are able to go and open Shopify website for anything that you want to sell as the same code that runs. Similarly, like in India, that is going to go ahead and create like this network where you can list all products and services and all sellers and buyers are together in one sort of area. So that's going to be like how the open protocol platform will in and of itself work. So that is going to be extremely beneficial because it's open source, no one entity owns it, and nobody will be able to go ahead and say that, hey, I can do this or you can't do this or any of these permutations and combinations. And then like there is interoperability. So for example, someone who is listing on Amazon or buying from Amazon can do the same in multiple other places. Like we don't really know how this works in ONDC yet, but let's say in terms of UPI, you can pay from Google Pay to Phone Pay without being challenged in the process middle, because either one company cannot talk to the other company or whatever. Right? That does not exist. And then there is this huge advantage of price comparison, right? So you will be able to see what is the price across the board because there is a unified dashboard. Now there is a single protocol that is going in and tracking all prices. Again, we don't know how these things work right yet, but like these are going to be the benefits once ONDC has come into action. But the question that we have to ask here is it going to really challenge the big players? But in my opinion, I think the big players are going to stay, right? For example, like let's say you go on Trivago, right? It's a very good example to sort of compare. It's a great price comparison website. You enter where you want to go and you will get the best price that's possible from websites across the board. But even if you look at Trivago stats, the people who go ahead and purchase the tickets at the end based on price list will always prioritize the trust they have in the brand as well. So Expedia and Booking.com continue to go ahead and have an immense amount of sales compared to the other players who are in the system because they fundamentally have a stronger, more accepted brand by people, right? That is going to be an extremely important factor when it comes to this, right? So maybe ONDC can create a price chart very easily, but people would still want to buy from Amazon or Flipkart because they like really believe in that brand over xyz.com, right? Added to that, I think the most important thing is that the infrastructure that Amazon, Flipkart, Zomato, Swiggy and all of these people have built, right? And because it's digital commerce, it applies to food, it applies to everything, right? So Swiggy, Zomato have invested insane amount of money like creating their network. They have delivery partners and all of those things. Not something a new startup can create out of the box, right? And Flipkart, Amazon have warehouses and fulfillment centers that can deliver in a day or even the same day when you order, right? So for all of these things to be equally applicable across the board, it's not going to happen, right? In business, it's a term, right? Like it's called a moat. right? Moat is something that differentiates you from the other companies and lets no other competitor enter your market and take your customers away. These companies have been building moats for years, right? They've been building like very good technical moats, they've been building operational moats and all of these things. And now that is going to help them grow and scale into the business and like capture the market. Probably discoverability will help them more than like the smaller players. And now there's like just one single platform, so like whoever offers the best pricing will always win, and the people who can offer the best pricing are the ones with the deepest pockets, and that's always all of these e-commerce giants and the other companies. So that's what I really think about ONDC at this point. But that's what I thought when UPI was announced as well, right? Like Paytm will have its dominance in the system, but the day like it becomes interoperable, that broke, and then there were new players like PhonePe, Google Pay that came in that we didn't know that could come in. So it's up to watch as to how this will pan out. But my opinion is that probably it will not be able to challenge these players, rather help them more. But certainly there will be benefits that comes out of this, only to see later. Because at the end of the day, if you look at open source, it has the power to drive innovation. So hopefully that and the interoperability aspect will take ONDC to higher heights. So keep a very close eye on this, and let's see how ONDC pans out for consumers.